FanTaSy, INnoVation versus Trap, and then sort of versus INnoVation. You guys might see a theme there, but anyway, we'll get on into this one. The map is New Repugnancy. It's going to be a Terran versus Terran. And spawning up in the top right-hand side of the map, it is Player One's FanTaSy.
And spawning in the bottom left, he's red this time. It is INnoVation.
FanTaSy, we're lucky to have him back, and he's going to be proxying INnoVation to start things off.
Yes.
Reaper.
That is a factor on our question of which mirror matchup is the shortest on average. I think the fact that there are a lot of proxies in TvT might indicate a little bit, maybe the shorter than I expect it to be. Yeah, I don't know. Somebody has the
transition though, so
they do.
It's tough to
yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not like it's a win or lose proposition for sure.
Can I just say that this is the most basic? Like, if we're gonna call a basic proxy, this is the basic proxy right here. Like, every Terran's doing it. It's just the most common here. New Repugnancy in this spot. I believe it was yesterday. I want to say Cure did it versus TY, and TY scouted for it. INnoVation is not.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if it's every Terran does it on this map, why the heck isn't Inno scouting it? Come on, man.
It's like, oh, there's a cliff next to my base. It's a TvT. I'm gonna get proxied. That's the way it goes. INnoVation's SCV actually sees FanTaSy's going home, so that's a bit of a giveaway, I feel. Fortunately for INnoVation, though, he did go for a double gas play, so he's actually rather prepared for this. That's the first step to countering this. You basically just hope that you've gone for double gas versus your opponent who's proxy reapering you, because it allows you to get out the Hellion a lot quicker, and it's much, much easier to defend. You don't have to really pull the SCVs. INnoVation is now engaging into the Reaper of FanTaSy, but FanTaSy has got the high ground here.
Oh, snipes it down there, trying to micro as best he can. SCV taking some shots, allowing INnoVation to get the first shots off there. But 2 versus 1, the math does not check out for INnoVation. He has to retreat, but the factory gets down, which is huge for INnoVation.
Yeah, the factory finishing up is super critical. A lot of SCVs are being pulled. Oh,
nice. Got the surround, and the Reaper finished him off there, too.
Yeah, another Reaper finishes out for INnoVation, so he really has held this from the seam of things.
Yeah, he looks just fine. Plus, his barracks and his production facilities are inside his base rather than outside. So I think INnoVation in a pretty good spot here.
So yesterday we had a lot of long games, and one of them was actually this exact scenario. I believe it was Kier. He tried to proxy TY, and then the game turned into a 30-minute slugfest of a Terran versus Terran.
So you're anticipating like, well, this is over.
Yeah, but by that logic, we're just gonna have one of those crazy situations. But nothing else too major going on here. FanTaSy does come in, pops off that SCV building the command center. A nice bit of a delay there, throwing down grenades for days to slow INnoVation down. Looks like he is being pursued though, and FanTaSy's got to run somewhere to get safe because INnoVation with his Hellions is just chasing him down for days. And FanTaSy could be losing all of his Reapers here. This is disastrous. He's losing a lot right now.
Oh, the micro was not there in time for FanTaSy. Forced into a fight he didn't want to have to engage in there. He is making a Cyclone back home, which is going to help, but it's not quite ready yet.
On INnoVation's side of the map, his command center, it is getting delayed almost. Oh, INnoVation.
No,
that's a bit of a boo-boo. Okay, he fixes that boo-boo as he quickly pops off that SCV. He goes back and finishes the job.
It's like I shouldn't have had to do that.
No, he shouldn't, but that's the way it goes sometimes. Reaper almost made it, but didn't quite. Everything considered, though, things are not too far apart as far as these two Terrans go, and that's one thing that's interesting in this matchup is Terrans do have the ability to transition out of one of these proxies.
Boy, that barracks dies fast with those Cyclones, man.
FanTaSy is brave, man, poking out with his one Cyclone versus INnoVation's.
If he gets a lock on, it's so close to in range.
You gotta run, FanTaSy.
that lock-on happens, you're toast. You cannot stop for anything. Oh, he gets his lock-on off.
He does, and then he keeps moving. His Cyclone is taking a bit of a beating, and INnoVation is coming in hot. FanTaSy picks off one of the Cyclones. He's got his Raven here to help him out, but his Cyclone, he's backed into a corner. He's in trouble now.
Yep, it's dead. Another Cyclone comes out, but
no
log
auto
on,
turret
log
gets
on, log
thrown
on,
down.
log on.
Oh man, INnoVation's committed into the main base of FanTaSy, though the Raven uses a interference matrix, I guess, trying to save it. FanTaSy actually lets that Cyclone get out of his base. I feel like that's a mistake.
Yeah, SCV's fighting here is not what you want to see. Marine even joining the party here too. SCV starting to fall a little bit quick here now.
FanTaSy is nothing. He's got a Raven with no energy. This tank's about to pop out, which should help shut this down. But INnoVation's bringing up his own Raven, and then Cyclone, is he just going to snowball and kill FanTaSy?
That tank does not need to be on this ramp. Where are you going, tank?
Oh,
tank.
no.
Tank. No, man. Tank.
Okay, he backs on out. But INnoVation's brought his own tank. He's got a perfect position. Did INnoVation just win this game?
It looks like a win, man. 12 SCVs down. This stage of the game is not good at all. He's got his own Raven high ground.
Oh, man.
That auto turret gets about two shots off.
The other auto turret, it's going to kill off that tank. Oh, no. Okay, that was close.
Yeah, the final shot from the tank.
Oh, look at INnoVation. Auto turret misses killing the tank, though. Tank on the high ground, popping off those Marines, but INnoVation walks forward and picks it off. This is such a mess. This is a beautiful mess right here. It's just like one tank versus one tank right now.
TvT at its best right now. Ah, these two Ravens auto-turreting, just taking down SCVs. No big deal here at all. Trying to finish off the tank. The repair is too good, though. Yeah. And the tank survives. That was a bit of a miscalculation from INnoVation.
What is FanTaSy holding on for, this?
Is holding on for saving his natural?
Yeah, he's down 15 SCVs or so, though. So he's already in a world of hurt. I mean, maybe he can hold on and stabilize. He will finally clean up his natural.
Sure did.
Oh man, that was a mess, though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Oh, okay. Here comes INnoVation with his own tank and Ravens.
Oh, he's got the high ground the high ground vision as well as the air advantage here.
The auto turret too is beautiful.
And the tank's gone. And mining from this base becomes really hard now because the tank can set up on the low ground and really shell it forever.
Poor FanTaSy. He gets a unit and then INnoVation just kills it. He tosses down an auto turret to work away on this tank. He might get it. If he focuses that down, I think he will. So he stays alive, but INnoVation has 4 Vikings in here. He might just be able to land them. FanTaSy tosses down an auto turret to try and keep his Ravens alive, but INnoVation does end up landing the Vikings. And this is a lot of Vikings in here. I think INnoVation has killed FanTaSy. GG, that was a mess right there. What a fantastic Terran versus Terran.
Ever since that engagement out in the middle of the map there where FanTaSy lost everything he had and INnoVation was able to push on him, it just kind of snowballed from there. FanTaSy kept losing stuff. INnoVation made good trades, harassed, killed SCVs, shut down the natural base for a while. And anytime you can see a player win by landing Vikings to conclude it, I always enjoy it. It always makes me laugh.
Okay, second map is going to be King's Cove. And we'll get on into that as soon as we can. Thanks so much to everyone for tuning on in. Enjoying these great games.
Yeah, thanks to all the support in the chat there. Looks like VIPGP has joined the chat. A lot of Korean we can't translate, unfortunately, but happy to have everybody involved today. About 435 viewers is a good number to get. I'm trying to get that increased over the rest of the cast here today. But yeah, tell your friends. Your friends are like, hey, what StarCraft is on tonight? Well, you can say INnoVation is playing against FanTaSy over at AfreecaTV.com. So come check it out.
Okay, looks like everyone's ready, so we're going to jump right on into it. So far, looking good for INnoVation.
Sure is. He is just a man on a mission. None of his games that we've cast of his at all today have been shorter than, or longer than 10 minutes. So he just keeps winning fast against both Protoss and against fellow Terran opponents. He's got a Zerg coming up.
It's a best of 3. This spawning down in the bottom right-hand side of the map. It's INnoVation.
And spawning in the top left, the red Terran player of FanTaSy.
Oh my god. Look at this.
Oh, they saw.
Okay,
they saw
who's gonna back down? I mean, no one can get up a barracks.
No, not gonna happen.
Okay. That was interesting. Both these guys are like, right, I guess I won't proxy.
Yeah, that was something you don't see every day. Both players go into the exact same spots on the map. They see each other's SCVs, and that shuts down the proxy entirely. That's hilarious.
Okay, so a normal TvT commences from here.
Whatever the heck normal TvT is anymore. I mean,
that is true. There's no roadmap, that's for sure.
I think TvT is the messiest of mirror matchups.
I don't know.
As long as we're trying to figure out the est of mirrors today. Just in that, like, what do you expect in a TvT? Sure, Marine Tank, Viking, Raven, yeah, but it's not the end-all be-all. You don't have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. TvT, it can be read. It's tough to do, but you can play sort of safer styles. That's why Terrans tend to make a few Cyclones and a Raven and a Viking. It will generally protect you in the early game, so you can try and reach that sort of more mapped out mid to late game, in which you finally realize it's like, oh, I'm going bio, my opponent's going bio, or I'm going mech, my opponent's going bio. Something like that. So that's why these guys generally do open up a couple of Reapers, some Hellions. Not necessarily because they want to put on the aggression, but because they have to. That's just where the meta's at. If they don't, they'll die or whatever, so...
True fact. It's a good way to die, is to sit back a little bit too much.
INnoVation coming across the map with his Reaper. Very brave of him. Particularly since he's going for his command center on the low ground. INnoVation turns around with his Reaper after he identifies that FanTaSy doesn't have his own command center yet. And FanTaSy's Reaper is going to be jumping up into the main base of INnoVation. We'll see what it's able to get done. Of course, it is a little bit out on the map. But look at that. He's being very careful with it because he's wondering when INnoVation's Reapers are going to show up. And there they go. They're coming from the back now. FanTaSy, look at that. He's trying to get that SCV. He's just waiting to retreat, but INnoVation's Reapers are going to come from the other side. The depot doesn't get raised, though, but the Reaper does go down.
Yeah, Reaper sniped off there. Very nicely done by INnoVation. Great control. Now, he is fairly safe at this stage. Although, Hellion coming on in, trying to find some damage.
Except with that control. FanTaSy takes a few too many shots there. Nicely done by INnoVation. Doesn't have to worry. He's got 2 Hellions of his own on the way.
Expansion coming up back home for FanTaSy. And his units return home. Past the Widow Mine. Hey, guy, don't shoot us, please. Ooh, gonna park on top of that Widow Mine. Loving that. Harder to see there. And maybe you think, oh, I can come up this ramp, no problem. But surprise, Widow Mine!
That is a bit cheeky. I do like this from FanTaSy. He's just sending his Reaper across the map. This other Hellion's being used as bait, so he is focusing on that transition, getting the Marines out now, getting out a Cyclone. We'll see if he's going to dive on in with this Reaper or just hang out for now. Wait for a good moment to really see what's going on.
Yeah, Reaper's enjoying a nice vacation on the beach. He's watching the waves lap the shore.
That is true.
King's, check him out. He's just like, it's so nice. These colorful shells all over the place, nice and tranquil.
Okay, but
nobody
look
else.
At the size of those shells.
That is a scary crab. That's
that is
really
a massive crab.
I don't know what kind of crabs they have in this universe. Apparently big ones.
Maybe we can find one. Nope.
Yeah, I don't think there are... That'd be nice, though, if there were crabs wandering around on this map. I'd be okay with it.
Passive crab entity or something, right? That can be, like, put on the maps for aesthetics. I mean, there's treasure chests and dragons. There's gotta be a crab.
Widow Mine, big time hit, wounding.
Beautiful.
It weakens everything INnoVation has, and FanTaSy wins the engagement because of that Widow Mine. What a boss.
Such a mine. FanTaSy comes on in with his Reaper. It is going to run into INnoVation's 2 Marines, so it's not going to get a lot done. It does, however, get a scout off. It confirms that it's going to be bio from INnoVation. Just beautifully done.
Yep, got right on in there, saw what was up, and got out with his life. All right, well, Bunker coming up, just finishing for INnoVation. Now, as you said, going for the bio play. Barracks, extra barracks on the way from FanTaSy 2. He's going to go for bio himself based on that production. And it's just going to be a matter of who can get more stuff, who gets upgrades faster, who has better positioning. And I mean, that's what's great about StarCraft is there are so many elements you have to master in order to win a game against somebody, especially at this level. Yeah, even if you out macro, if you walk into a tank line, you're dead. Even if you have better upgrades, you get dropped and don't see it coming, you're dead. So TvT is just crazy, just dependent on scouting and positioning properly and when to unseat your tanks. And both these players have a lot of experience with it. So definitely should become a fairly interesting TvT pretty shortly here.
Yeah, TvT is the matchup. I think it's actually like fair to argue that it is the matchup which comebacks are the most possible.
Yes.
Regardless of what situation you're in, like you can always make a play in TvT. And we'll see what these guys are looking at right now. Currently, it is INnoVation stuck on 2 bases. They're not really stuck. He just has made the choice not to go for a third just yet. He's got an SCV parked there, but he definitely is going for 2-base aggression, whereas FanTaSy, he opted for the quicker third. He's got that up. He's higher on worker count, so he's got a much better economy. But INnoVation is now going to be moving on in and maybe looking to get a bit of damage done.
Oh, Marines. And delay on the third base, nicely done by FanTaSy. And that Cyclone running for his life. He can't handle that many Marines. Goodness, no, but high ground advantage here with the tanks.
Man.
Interference matrix on everybody.
Yeah, INnoVation just disables.
Oh.
Raven's just getting disabled on both sides.
Marines getting smashed in the face by the tanks. Tanks up for INnoVation on the low ground, looking strong. Indeed, but besides crushing that high ground, it's going to be a little more difficult than he wants to, or than he thinks it should be.
The third base was delayed so long. That is fantastic for FanTaSy. INnoVation with an already late command center gets it delayed even more by the red Terran player. And FanTaSy, he effectively survived the first attack, so his situation is just getting better and better. The really scary window is now gone. And yeah, he's just going to be catching up on supply. He's going to have a better economy. And as a result, that's going to reflect his production, and he's just going to have more and more stuff. And INnoVation's going to be tight-pressed to make anything happen versus his defensive opponent.
Yeah, tanks are in great positions for FanTaSy here, too. I don't think INnoVation can crack this nut. I think he recognizes that, and he's just going to head on home. Sensor towers up to see those drops we mentioned previously. Third base still not complete for INnoVation after that crazy delay FanTaSy was able to get off on it. And yeah, FanTaSy in a great position overall. Economically, army supplies fairly similar here, which is great if you have the better economy. You can catch up fairly easily. Combat shield coming in.
INnoVation's going for it. He actually disables FanTaSy's tank, so he is looking to break this position, and very well done. FanTaSy tosses down a plethora of auto turrets there in order to try and buy time, but INnoVation is crashing forward. His tanks are getting set up, but did INnoVation actually just make it happen? Oh my god, I think he did.
Gosh. These Marines are functionally immortal right now. Third base done. 14 SCVs die. The tank count is huge.
FanTaSy.
Army supply plummeting for FanTaSy there. 64 to 24 now. He can't save the orbital command. It does end up exploding. High ground Marines trying to make something happen, but the vision is available. Tanks crushing that. And you're done. That's it. Production is out. These Marines have no HP, but they finish off these tanks anyway because Marines are Marines.
FanTaSy doing as much fancy micro as he can, but INnoVation just found the right opportunity. FanTaSy didn't have enough buffer there for his tanks, so then when the interference matrix went down, INnoVation just crashed forward with so much there, and FanTaSy is in so much trouble. It cannot be overstated.
Yeah, army supply was fairly even before that attack, and now it's double. INnoVation has double the army supply. His upgrades are going to finish first. He's got 2-2 on the way. I'm not sure he's going to wait for it. Probably not, especially for that armor upgrade. But FanTaSy's like, I got to do something. Yeah. I just lost so much stuff, including my third base. Let's move out, see what we can do. And he does manage to sneak that past INnoVation. INnoVation does not see that coming, but at the same time, He's pushing on the other side. I'm not sure FanTaSy has enough to deal with INnoVation's attack on the top side of the map.
I think you're correct. INnoVation, he's just going to drop. He's just going for it into the main base of his opponent. FanTaSy, there's a chance his production might be able to deal with this. He's got that one tank in position. INnoVation just flies right on by. FanTaSy's Marines are going to try and get on this and shut it down. He's got a fair few Marines in position. SCVs are being pulled on top of this, but is it going to be enough? It doesn't look like it. INnoVation takes out FanTaSy's main. He deflects the counterattack.
GG.
That's got to be it, right? I mean, FanTaSy. Yeah. He's notorious, literally, for just staying in a game past his expiration date, but
not in the last one. He was pretty quick to get out of game one. There we go.
He now knows that it's over. Just that attack from INnoVation could not have been more perfect. It's just one of those situations. It happens to the best of us, guys.